In this talk, we have the topic is diachronic, let's say, which is unusual for the sketch engine team.
Yeah.
And it will be presented by Miloš Jakubíček with a lot of authors. And the first author is Adam Kilgarriff.
Thank you. Do you hear me? Is it okay? Good, perfect. As Simon just said, so the topic is kind of unusual for a sketch engine because if you look at the sketch engine functionalities, this is all synchronic analysis. You have a snapshot of text in a time, and you work on it and you analyze it. You do concordances, you do word sketch, you operate on top of it. It's been always synchronic. But for a long time, Adam was actually trying to do something with diachronic analysis as well, mainly to get some good data for it. And we would finally like to present some results of that, which is a kind of a framework that we call DIACRAN. It's part of Sketch Engine, and I will show you how to use it. So the main goal from our perspective with diachronic analysis is simply finding neologisms. In longer term, it's always about lexicography then, where neologisms can be either something like new lexemes, words like selfie, or shifts in an existing lexeme, so new senses, changing of sense and stuff like that. Clearly, the new lexemes are the easy bits. So if you simply have a new word that hasn't been there before, it's kind of easy to spot, provided you have the data. And really, if you think of a word like selfie, that is something that hasn't been there, is there now. However, with new senses, things get much more complicated for reasons you know much more about than me actually. Corey was just on Monday or Tuesday. Corey was mentioning words like basic getting entirely new meanings in American English in context like pardon me saying basic bitch meaning ordinary woman. And ordinary in negative context, so like wearing ordinary clothes, and so she's very basic. Is something that you shouldn't really be facing in being in US now. And I'd like to talk first about a kind of a agnostic approach of those two differentiations, and then how we are going to tackle the more complicated of these two. What is needed for some diachronic analysis is data, so corpora with time annotation, and then some algorithms that will do the clever things with the data. The output for a given word should be a trend. So is it an increasing or decreasing trend, and what's the significance of the trend? Where the word significance is obviously, one might think of statistical significance, but I'm very cautious about it. So let's maybe rather speak of salience. The trouble is, corpora with accurate time annotation are really a scarce resource. So we have been using a number of data collections for development of the algorithms, for various testing and stuff like that. In first place, I would like to thank Mark Davies for the fact that he sold us the Coca corpus. Unfortunately, we cannot make it publicly available in Sketch Engine, so we could use it only for research purposes. I say this right now because so that it is obvious that this is not something that you can find in the system. We have been also working on BNC, which has some time annotation, but terribly old, right? various UK publishing houses and others have their in-house data they operate on. And what we have been trying to build in actually the past 7 years is what we call a feeds corpus, a corpus of RSS feeds. So I'm not sure whether you are familiar with the technology. Sometimes when you are browsing web pages, there is a small orange icon looking like a radar that appears in the top bar of the browser, saying the page provides a feed in a machine-readable format, which you can follow using some specialized software, and you get notified whenever there is something new on the page. The technology is quite old, and it is actually I think it's quite a funny development, because it was intended for people that would use feeds readers and kind of follow pages. I don't think this is the case. I mean, not very many people know about it. So it's actually used for machine-to-machine communication nowadays. So you can use it, for automatic crawling of web pages and so on. And back in 2008, Adam started a project that he called Feeds Corpus with a couple of guys, friends he had, and they've tried to crawl a corpus. Then some of his friends kind of left that topic, and there have been numerous interruptions, unfortunately, during the process. So the data is not really balanced. But finally, we have something close to 700 million words from those different years. The crawling stopped last year, and we are currently trying to restart the whole thing and kind of make it in a more durable way, and not only for English, but hopefully for as many languages as possible, so as to have monitor corpora being crawled constantly, and having them for the purpose of diachronic analysis in Sketch Engine. I will be showing the example I will be showing is from Coca, but these others are then available there. As for the algorithms, there's numerous literature about how to identify trends in data. Usually it boils down to some sort of linear regression in various variations. What we have, however, found to be the most useful method was the Mann-Kendall test, with a tail stand being the significance test there. However, I would really like to point out that data are much more important here than the algorithms. The better the data, the more stupid algorithms might be used, and you get very good results. Because what the algorithms really try to account for is that you have various gaps in your data. The data is not balanced, so you don't have the same amounts of text in every period, and you need to deal with it. If you have very simple cases like globalization in Google Ngrams, any of the methods, there's linear regression in its various alternations, plus the Mann-Kendall tail stand test. So any of the method will say yes, it's being used more and more. What you need to deal with is if you have things like this. So 3 in British National Corpus, where there is no obvious trend, but first 4 of the 5 methods would detect one. So that's something that's actually the reason for which we are using the Mann-Kendall test. And there is a longer paper with all the technical details and numerous comparisons referenced in the paper here. And so if you would be interested in that, have a look at it. The work done by Ondřej Herman, mainly one of the co-authors. So that's the reason. But really, I would like to emphasize that it's about the data. Once you have a good data for the task, you are pretty much done. What does it look like in the Sketch Engine interface? You get a list of words sorted by either the trend, where the trend is simply the slope of the line, or by the significance, or whatever, for instance by the frequency. We also provide a simple graph which is a simplification of the frequency distribution over the different time periods. When you have some time annotation in your corpus, all what you need to do is to add a single directive into the corpus configuration file, which tells the system what metadata should be used for the diachronic analysis. So where is your time annotation in the corpus? It might be like an attribute year of the document or attribute month of the document. If I now switch to demo, in the system, it looks roughly like that. Oh, come on. Again, the same problem. Better now, yeah. So once the diachronic directive is present in the corpus, a new link appears in the left menu, and you get a page, you get a form like this one, where you may choose the attribute you would like to operate on. You choose the method. Currently, there are just these two because we didn't really want to give so many options for people when we are quite convinced that this one works best. There might be others actually to follow, and that's it. I mean, there are some obvious filtering options because usually you are not interested in new proper nouns and words not starting with alphabetic characters. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Here you get the list. Oh yeah, we have been working on improving the graphs, and this is the new version of the graphs. No, just kidding. On the Coca corpus, you get quite interesting results for a number of things. So we have been wondering about this one, which is clear corpus error because that's a French word from what I've been told. And then you get various things around Googling and Googled and blocked bloggers. I believe there's been jihadist. So there is that was kind of the first feeling like it might work. Yeah, but we need to do some proper evaluation, and that's what we are currently working on. We have managed to obtain sample data from major UK publishing houses, neologism data sets that they have been adding to their dictionaries in the past years, and we are kind of trying to look into the past. So if we use our technology with kind of the old data, would we have been able to find the neologisms the lexicographers have found in the past? What's the overlap? What we are missing, what they are missing, right? Still not finished. I mean, we got the data just last month. So this is for the finding new lexemes, let's say. We believe that the same can be kind of done even for finding new senses. All the methods that are used there are being based merely on frequency figures. One thing that I wanted to show that I forgot about it, I think, is here. If you click on the frequency for whatever block, you get to the standard. You get to the this is the concordance. Sorry. And this link leads to the frequency distribution. So you always can go back to the data and here filter for the individual years and see the concordances. You find it really important that you can always get back to the actual text and see what's going on there in the corpus. The methods, they all operate just on frequency figures, and what we are currently busy with is that we are feeding the same algorithms with word sketch triples. So instead of working just on a word or lemma or whatever tag level, what we use is a word sketch triple, head word, grammatical relation, and collocation. So kind of a context of the word, and we have we are quite positive about this and hope that this will allow us to to find even sense changes and new changes of words simply as they occur in new contexts where they haven't appeared before. But yeah, more to the topic later. And that's it. We would really love to become, to have diachronic analysis as a permanent part of the sketch engine system. It's there, it's ready. It's very easy to set up. All what you need is a corpus with some reliable time annotation. Provided you have one, might be user corpus or whatever else. You can already use it now. And we hope that we will be very soon able to report, first of all, more about the evaluation and more on the new changes detection. Thank you.
So we have plenty of time for.
Sorry, me again. We have a question about your graphs in the pictures.
Yeah.
What I think is rather strange that every graph starts with something and then. Because I would expect that it starts at 0. Yes?
I was afraid that somebody will spot it, and I will very openly saying that it's a bug. So I mean, the very first data point, it's stored in binary on bits, so that it's very small, and I think that some of the bit shift has gone wrong, and we have just noticed, when we arrived here in Ersmons when we were preparing the talk, and we thought like, oh, maybe somebody, maybe nobody will notice, but I forgot Vlado is here, so no, it's a bug. Sorry.
Any more questions?
Yeah. Hi. Can you extend this? Can you envisage extending this work backwards seriously in time? For example, I noticed that Mark Davis has recently announced a Hansard corpus of, I think, about 200 years.
Yeah, we've talked about
and
it.
It would be very nice if we could show that the OED has room for improvement in its historical record.
Yeah, yeah. I think the answer is very simple. Yes. I mean, I know about the Hansard corpus, and I'm waiting for feedback on its copyright status from the UK Parliament already for a month. So yeah, that's all what I can say to that. I mean, I've tried to find out whether we can use it or not, and it is really not obvious from the web pages. There are numerous licenses being mentioned, and I hope we will be able to. And I would love to see the Hansard corpus there, definitely.
Any more questions?
English has had a fairly stable orthography for the past 200 years, but if you go seriously backwards, you would expect to have to handle very heterogeneous orthography. Have you thought about this at all?
Yeah, sure. This is a very good question. That's a big trouble, actually. So we have recently had this problem with Portuguese, if I'm not mistaken, which was undergoing a change of orthographic codification back 5-6 years ago. And the only thing you can really do with this is have some tools for normalization. So you have to bring the data into single spelling, into some. It might be the old one or the new one. That doesn't really matter. But if you don't do this, you get just noise in the data. You get this as kind of the trend. So yeah, that's a problem.
Can I add something to that?
Yeah.
The OED. I'm not a spokesman for OED, but the OED lists all the spellings and the centuries in which they are found of base forms, at least. And so we've got a clustering device, at least in English, probably in other major historical dictionaries too. What about Dutch?
Yeah, sure. I mean, for English, this is really not a big issue, right? For the others, you know, especially with the most recent changes, it might be better, you know, just to bring it into the single form. Also because of the fact that there are usually tools for that. Because the recent changes, as they have been implemented, people already thought of things like that, and you know, needed to amend all the spell checkers. This happened for Portuguese, it happened for German as well, where in German it's bigger. It's been a big issue, and it is still a big issue, right? So, I mean, for those of you who are not familiar with that, back 2004, when finally Austria, Germany, and Switzerland came to the conclusion and that they will change the orthography, and it came into the force. And on the first day when it came into the force, all the major German newspapers published on front page that they are not going to stick with that they just keep to the old one, right? So that's kind of an issue if you have newsletter publishers like that. Yeah.
Any more questions? We still have time.
About the ongoing work you plan to do with integrating collocations into this diachronic analysis. We in Berlin, we have a tool that does those things, so this is definitely a very useful approach. One problem we face is the computational complexity, and I was wondering, right, suppose you have a corpus of 10 eager tokens. What are your experiences or what are your expectations about the complexity?
Well, where does the complexity come from? I mean, it's so we haven't so far faced any issues with any issues like that. It's not that many data, right? So you have basically instead of feeding the algorithms with word and frequency, you feed it in with a triple head-word collocation, head-word relation collocation, and the frequency of this triple. It is more data. Sorry? Of course, yeah. You basically the input is the frequency distribution, right? So yeah, I mean it's more data, but it's still, I mean, it's still computationally tractable, at least from what, so like in hours or something like that.
Yes, but
and the idea, the idea always is this gets pre-computed. So this gets pre-computed and indexed because you don't have very many options here. So you can choose the attribute, you can choose the metadata here because there is only one option. You can't even choose that. You can choose the method, but we have a couple of combinations in the end, maybe 16 or something like that. So you might pre-compute all of this and then just display the results. The filtering can be then done on the fly. So if one is interested just in a particular word, yeah.
Okay, so I agree with you. If you pre-compile it, then that's the only way to do.
Yeah.
Well, but still, it's slower, so to say. It's not. You can do it interactively, but it is slower.
Yeah, it is slower.
Okay.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, it is. Of course, it's like 10 times the risk.
Any more urgent questions? No? Otherwise, we will finish here, and Miloš will reconvene at 11.
Yeah. 5. We have agreed with this, like that. We don't really want to steal your coffee, so maybe 11 or something like that.
Thank you.